On this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're going to be talking about using your Google Analytics to better understand your customer. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. So this week we're going to be chatting about Google Analytics and using Google Analytics to better understand your customer, to understand where your traffic's coming from, maybe things as well like if you're planning a new website, how you can use your existing Google Analytics to help you in that process to make sure that you're going to get the most out of a new website project by looking at your past data.
Yeah.
So for me, always one of the most interesting places to go straight in Google Analytics is the acquisition, to see where your traffic is coming from.
Yeah.
So in Google Analytics, there's a little tab that will be acquisition and overview, and that's going to tell you, okay, how much of my traffic came from organic search, so from Google search, how much of it came from referrals, so other websites, people click links on those and came to you, how much came direct, how
Yep.
much came through social media. Now, there's definitely some attribution issues, I would say, in Google Analytics in telling the amount that came from social media. But overall, it is going to give you a very good overview of where your traffic has come from. And if you're using Google Ads and Google Shopping and things like that, you can plug that into your Google Analytics as well and separate all that out. So it gives you a really, really nice overview on that attribution screen of, go into your analytics, select your last month's data. Here's all my traffic, where it came from in all the different sectors. And if you have e-commerce analytics up, you can see how much sales came from each of those places as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really important one to look at because sometimes clients can be like, oh, we really want to do loads of Facebook campaigns or something like that. And we're like, no, maybe Google would work better for you. So if we're doing both, then we can show them, even looking at the bounce rates, because social media bounce rates can be much higher than Google bounce rates. But maybe not, depending on your sector. Maybe social is where they're all going to be coming from. So it's just testing all of that. And what we mean by bounce rate is when people land on the page and they immediately leave. So they've come to the page, either it doesn't load fast enough, which we were talking about in a previous episode, which is now way more important for Google's algorithm, or they come to the page and it's not what they were expecting, or it's not the information they wanted, or they just want to leave. They don't like the look of it, maybe. So definitely looking at the bounce rates as well as where people are coming from, who is actually staying from what place.
Yes, and one thing as well, just to be careful of on the bounce rate, is you always have to be aware of the user from the point of view of, have I given them on that page exactly what they were looking for, so they did
Yeah.
not need to proceed any further.
Yeah.
So if the
Like
bounce
say a menu now or something.
exactly, yeah. So you would expect certain pages like that to have a high bounce rate. Now, if your homepage, for example, has a very high bounce rate,
Yeah.
then okay, you probably do have a problem, because generally your homepage isn't going to be the end point; it might be the start point of the journey. So it's just to keep that in mind as well. That that's the menu's a really good example. Like if somebody searches the menu for a restaurant, they see the menu, perfect, they leave.
Yeah.
They may not. You may actually be giving them a really good user experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, definitely that acquisition overview section in Google Analytics can give you so much information on where your traffic is coming from. One thing that can often surprise people as well is if they see their organic traffic from Google being really, really high. If they haven't, that's a really good time then. Okay, set up Google Search Console, link that with your Google Analytics, and see what keywords are leading to people coming to your website. Because again, from understanding your customers, if you know what they're searching,
Yeah.
that's massively powerful. That means you can create content around those keywords. You can run ad campaigns around those keywords. So because we all in our own mind have a really good idea of, oh, these are the keywords I want to be up there for. And
Yeah.
then you see the actual terms that are being searched, and they could be quite different, or they could be, variations you mightn't have thought of. There's going to be so much information you can gather from that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're guilty as well, maybe in marketing or other sectors, but in marketing, we can use maybe very hard terminology and people are just searching, really simple words. So we need to answer it in simple words, maybe instead of the marketing terminology
It
that we're always using.
it's very true, and it happens in marketing, but I think it happens across anything
Yeah.
that's any bit technical. So it is, it's a really good way to be able to understand your customer. The other way I always say around that is, type in your technical keyword, scroll down to the bottom of Google and see the related terms that people are searching around it as well.
Yeah.
That can also give you a really good idea of what your customers are potentially searching.
Yeah, and in Google Ads, you can go into the search terms report and see all of the search terms that actually were searched for that got you to those ads.
Very good. So one other one I think that is really, really useful is in audience,
Yeah.
mobile, and overview. Why this is so important is particularly if you're developing a new website. What this will show you is the amount of traffic on your website on desktop versus mobile. So a lot of particularly B2C, business to consumer companies, 70-80% of their traffic could be on mobile. So it's hugely important you know that before you go down the route of trying to develop an experience for your customer. Because if 80% of your traffic is on mobile, then your web development, it has to be mobile first. Your mobile first has to be the way you're looking, because if only 20% of your traffic is on the desktop, it makes no sense to develop first around the desktop view and then look at the mobile view. So you really do need a mobile first design at that stage. Where it's also interesting then, and just Click is a good example of this, or for example in ours, desktop will be higher because very much we're
Yeah.
B2B. It's other businesses, people at their office, at their desk, looking for web development, looking for digital marketing agencies. So that obviously is going to, or should influence how we develop a web experience for our customers, because our customer is more desktop focused. But as I say, it's a very interesting one to do. If you haven't done, go into your Google Analytics, go into audience mobile overview, have a look in there. Sometimes you'd be surprised. There may be, the odd times as well, tablets crop up an awful lot for people for some reason as well.
Yeah.
But it's generally mobile, particularly as I say in the B2C environment, mobile can be 70% plus. So
Definitely, yeah.
it's hugely important that okay, if the next step you're looking at is new web design for your business, you need to be looking at mobile first then.
Yeah, and we said in the previous episode as well, Google's algorithm is going to be taking that into account now because it wants all websites to be responsive and have a good user experience. So that is definitely something to look into.
Definitely.
Under audiences as well, if you go into demographics, you can see, the age and the gender of the people that are coming to your site and just making sure they're your target market because, for example, you could be targeting, I don't know, 35 plus or something, but your content could answer questions that maybe college people are looking into for some reason. So then you've got all this traffic from college people who actually can't buy your product or service. So it's about talking to the right people. So just making sure that the demographics coming up there are the people you want as customers.
Yeah, and that can influence your content as well. And actually, the college one is a good one because you'll often see, where like in the marketing space, it's people would say who are looking maybe around marketing jobs or marketing internships, and this obviously goes for every industry. So if you see a lot of traffic coming from the younger demographic, are they getting to say the careers page, for example, where they may not necessarily be interested in your product or service. So again, it's good data to have, and it can also let you know of okay, why am I getting so much traffic from this particular set of demographics who I feel are not particularly interested in my product or service. Then maybe it's time to do a little investigating because maybe they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe you could target a younger demographic. Yeah, definitely.
The other fantastic thing with Google Analytics is e-commerce analytics. So if you're running something like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, all that conversion data, that can flow right into your Google Analytics.
Yeah.
So when you're in Google Analytics, you'll have conversions, e-commerce, and overview. One of the big things here is your conversion rate. So that is, let's say 100 people visit your website and one person buys your product. That's a 1% conversion rate. Yeah. Knowing your conversion rate is extremely important, because as an e-commerce site, that's something you always want to try to be increasing. It is turning more of your existing traffic and your existing visitors into more customers. So it's very good to know that, as there are studies around different industries out there that show, okay, if I'm in X industry, my conversion rate should be this, and so on and so forth. Again, a huge amount of factors go into this. For example, if you have a section of your website that's all content driven, or maybe it's information driven, and you have a separate e-commerce section, but they're all running on the same domain name, that's going to probably dilute your conversion rate an awful lot, because you're fulfilling two different objectives, one being the e-commerce and one being information or content driven. But if you're purely e-commerce site, then you could potentially look at some of those and start benchmarking your site against those metrics out there to say, okay, look, I should be getting maybe a 2% conversion rate and getting 1.5. What can I do here to improve this? So that report can be really good to give you a full kind of overview on your conversion rate.
And if you don't have an e-commerce site, under conversions, you can set up goals. So, lead generation, so form submissions, calls, all of that, you can track that as well. And you can actually add a value. If you know that, for every 10 forms submitted, I get this much in, revenue, you can add a value to it and then track your goals and see how many forms you're getting submitted, and you can run ads then to try and get these forms submitted and get them to that page, and then get more leads and generate it that way as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's it's very important that you're doing that, because again, once you have those goals set up as well, Google Analytics is going to be able to tell you what pages they submitted that form on. Did they come through organic? Did they come through social? Did they come through your ads? Did they come through direct? So again, it's going to be really important in informing your marketing that you do, if you're not e-commerce, that you do have goals on your website.
Absolutely.
So things like setting up a goal for filling in a form, a click to call button is a really good one. If you have a really in-depth long form piece of content, maybe time spent on the page could be another goal. Or scroll depth, exactly. So there are lots of these goals, and it is important, because the great thing with digital is it's so measurable. And that's what separates it apart from all other types of marketing, where you might have customers coming into the shop or ringing up the phone. You don't necessarily know how they found you, or which marketing worked and which marketing didn't. So Google Analytics gives you that way to be able to see, okay, here's how many leads I got through organic, here's how many I got through social, here's how many I got through my Google Ads. And obviously over time, then you can optimize that. So Google Analytics, extraordinarily powerful tool. I think maybe it's something we'll start doing a bit more on social with regards little bits of content and little tips around Google Analytics, because it's a tough one for a podcast, because you need to be looking at it.
We're looking at the screen and we're talking about it, but so if you're listening to the podcast, get out your laptop and follow along with us. It'll make more sense that way.
But it is I think it's something that people set up and then they completely forget about it.
Oh, definitely.
So it's, I would say, if you haven't looked at your Google Analytics in a couple of years, first of all, go in and look to see your mobile and desktop traffic. Are you giving a good experience for wherever most of your visitors are? There's so many businesses out there that don't have a responsive website. They're still on a desktop site, and probably 70% of their traffic is going to be mobile. So, I mean, that straight away is, that's a red flag for that business. Okay, that's something we need to work on. But what I think we'll do is set up maybe some little clips on Instagram and little tips that we can give you. So if you want to head over to our Instagram, it's cliq.ie, cliq.ie. If you're not following us there, and we'll try and put out some tips and tricks over the next few weeks around Google Analytics. So just little things that can help your business basically understand your customer more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for listening. That's been this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop.